Our brains are the most powerful devices we'll ever own. Weird, fragile, plastic, and full of tricks. Today I'll walk you through 9 brain facts that can actually change how you work, sleep, remember, and learn. For each fact I'll explain the science, give practical caveats, and a short experiment or habit you can try. Let's begin. Let's begin with a foundational concept. Fact 1. Your brain is not fully finished developing until you reach about age 25. This doesn't mean your brain is growing larger, but rather that it's undergoing a crucial refinement process. Key connections are being strengthened and insulated through a process called myelination, which speeds up communication between neurons, while unused connections are pruned away. This fine-tuning is what allows for more efficient and complex thought processes to emerge. The very last part of the brain to complete this process is the prefrontal cortex, the area right behind your forehead. This region is your brain's executive control center, supporting not just planning and impulse control, but also complex functions like moderating social behavior, weighing future consequences, and aligning your actions with long-term goals. Its maturation through adolescence and into the mid-20s is a slow, methodical upgrade to your cognitive hardware. This extended maturational window helps explain a common phenomenon: why risk-taking and rapid emotional shifts are so prevalent in teens and young adults. It's because the brain's emotional and reward systems, like the limbic system, often develop earlier and are more powerful than the still maturing control systems in the prefrontal cortex. This creates a temporary imbalance where the accelerator is fully engaged before the brakes are fully installed. This isn't a defect, it's a normal developmental phase that encourages exploration and independence. So what's the practical takeaway? If you're a parent, teacher, or a young adult yourself, the key is to build habits that scaffold decision-making. Use external supports like checklists for tasks, and create explicit plans to reduce ambiguity. For bigger choices, try implementing a 24-hour rule to delay the decision and allow the rational brain to catch up with initial impulses. For parents and educators, role-playing difficult scenarios can provide a safe space to practice. For young adults, seeking advice from trusted mentors provides access to a well-developed prefrontal cortex. These strategies act as a temporary support structure, bridging the gap while those crucial cognitive control systems are still coming fully online. Fact 2. Yawning helps cool the brain. We often associate a big yawn with boredom or sleepiness, but what if it's actually your brain's built-in air conditioning system kicking in? For a long time, the prevailing theories about yawning centered on social cues or a need for more oxygen. While those elements might play a part, a compelling body of research points to a more direct physiological purpose: thermoregulation. It seems the primary function of a yawn isn't just to signal you're tired, but to actively cool down an overheating brain, ensuring it operates at an optimal temperature for peak cognitive performance. So how does this work? The act of yawning involves a powerful stretch of the jaw, which significantly increases blood flow to the skull. Simultaneously, the deep inhalation of ambient air brings a cool draft into your nasal and sinus cavities. These cavities, with their extensive network of blood vessels, act like a radiator. The cooler air passes over these surfaces, chilling the blood within. This freshly cooled blood is then circulated up to the brain, effectively lowering its temperature and helping to maintain thermal homeostasis. It's a remarkably efficient and elegant biological process. This thermoregulation hypothesis isn't just a theory, it's backed by clever experiments. Studies have shown that people yawn more frequently in warmer environments and less so when they have a cold pack on their forehead. The frequency of yawning rises in direct response to increases in brain and ambient temperature, and it decreases after direct cooling. This explains why we might yawn before a stressful event or during intense concentration. These activities heat up the brain, and a yawn is the body's natural response to cool it down for better focus. Now, a quick caveat. This doesn't mean contagious yawning isn't real. Yawning likely serves multiple functions, and its social contagion aspect is a well-documented phenomenon linked to empathy and group behavior. The two theories aren't mutually exclusive, but here's a practical test for you. The next time you feel mentally sluggish and find yourself yawning, try a more direct cooling method. Place a cool, damp cloth on your forehead or neck, or simply take a few deep, slow breaths through your nose in a cooler space. See if your sense of alertness improves more effectively than after a simple yawn. You might just be giving your brain the temperature dip it was asking for. Fact 3. It's very difficult to yawn and maintain peak vigilance simultaneously. Yawning correlates with state shifts, from high alert to a lower arousal state and back, and because it involves a brief, coordinated motor pattern and a change in blood gases, it's often incompatible with sustained high-attention tasks. Practical rule: if yawning increases during a task, it's a reliable signal your current attention is waning. Use that signal to stand up, move, or change task for a few minutes. Fact 4. While you sleep, your brain literally cleans itself. During deep sleep, the brain's glymphatic system becomes more active. Cerebrospinal fluid flows through channels around brain tissue and helps clear metabolic waste, including proteins implicated in neurodegeneration. That clearance is one reason good sleep is tightly linked to cognitive health and memory function. Actionable takeaway: prioritize consistent sleep. Even one night of poor sleep impairs memory and coding the next day. Over time, chronic poor sleep raises long-term risk for cognitive issues. Fact 5. Memories are not single fixed files. It's a common misconception to think of our minds as a library or a hard drive, where each memory is a book or a file stored perfectly on a shelf, waiting to be retrieved. The reality, as revealed by neuroscience, is far more dynamic and fascinating. Our memories are living, breathing constructs that are constantly being built, reinforced, and even rewritten. This process unfolds in 3 distinct crucial stages: encoding, consolidation, and reconsolidation. First, there's encoding. This is the moment of learning, when your brain first processes an experience or a piece of information. It converts sensory input into a neural code, creating a fragile, short-term memory trace. Think of it as taking initial, rough notes. Without the next step, these notes would quickly fade. That next step is consolidation, the process of stabilizing that memory trace for the long term. This happens most profoundly during sleep or periods of quiet rest. While you sleep, your brain isn't just offline, it's actively replaying, strengthening and integrating the day's memories, transferring them to more permanent storage networks. But here's where it gets truly interesting: reconsolidation. Each time you recall a memory, you aren't just passively viewing it. The act of retrieval makes the memory temporarily unstable and malleable again. In this state, it can be updated with new information, strengthened by the act of recall itself, or connected to new emotions and experiences. This is why saying each memory is stored 3 times simplifies the mechanism, but captures an important truth. Memory is dynamic, not static. It's a feature that allows us to learn and adapt. You can witness this yourself with a simple experiment in active recall. Before bed, study a short list of unfamiliar words or facts for a few minutes. Then, put the list away and try to write down everything you can remember. The next morning, after a full night's sleep, test yourself again. You'll almost certainly find your recall is not only better, but feels more effortless. This demonstrates the powerful partnership between spaced recall, which strengthens the initial trace, and sleep-based consolidation, which cements it into your long-term knowledge. This dynamic nature is the very foundation of effective learning. Fact 6. Humans can recognize a face extremely fast, often in under 300 milliseconds. Specialized visual processing pathways, including the fusiform face area, enable rapid pattern matching for faces in familiar configurations. That speed explains snap judgments, but also reminds us these early fast processes are prone to bias. Takeaway: first impressions form quickly. Slow down important social decisions, and add 1 deliberate second to evaluate evidence beyond the initial gut reaction. Fact 7. Sleep helps learning, sometimes more than cramming awake. Sleep doesn't always create new memories for you, but it helps consolidate and reorganize what was learned while awake. Different sleep stages support different processes. Slow-wave sleep helps stabilize declarative memories. REM sleep supports emotional and procedural processing. Practical routine: study or practice a skill, get a normal night's sleep, and test yourself the next day. You'll usually see better retention than after the same effort without sleep. Fact 8. Some neural signals travel astonishingly fast, up to roughly 120 meters per second in heavily myelinated fibers. In everyday terms, that's comparable to roughly 430 kilometers per hour. That's the speed of action potential conduction in the fastest peripheral axons, not the speed of thought in the sense of conscious reasoning, which depends on network dynamics and synaptic processing. Practical note: understand that biological signaling can be extremely rapid, but complex cognition requires coordinated network timing, meaning fast signals are necessary but not sufficient for smart behavior. Fact 9. Chronic stress can change brain structure and function. Prolonged exposure to elevated stress hormones such as cortisol is associated with measurable changes in regions like the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex and can reduce volume or impair function over time. That doesn't mean every stressor is catastrophic. Short acute stress is normal and sometimes helpful, but chronic unmanaged stress is a real risk. Practical actions. Adopt daily stress management practices like brief aerobic activity, focused breathing for 2 minutes, and scheduled recovery time. These small habits accumulate and protect brain health. A short set of practical habits to tie several facts together. Keep a consistent sleep schedule to support glymphatic cleaning and memory consolidation. Use external supports like lists and timers while cognitive control systems mature. Treat yawning and internal alertness signals as feedback for task switching. Replace one weak habit with a small protective action. Set one password manager entry. Do one 90-second breathing reset, or go outside for 3 minutes of cool air. Before we finish, 3 quick credibility notes. 1. Many of these facts depend on experimental parameters, sample size, age group, or measurement technique, so when you read a headline asking, "Is X true?" check the primary source and look for meta-analyses. 2. Translating lab results into daily life requires careful, modest steps. Experiments should be safe, repeatable, and ethical. 3. If you try the small demos I suggested, document what you did and when. That simple habit of observation is essentially science at the kitchen table. That's the 9 facts and practical takeaways. Pick one small action from this video, change one habit, test one demo, or keep a sleep log for a week, and tell us what you observe in the comments. Subscribe for more brain science you can actually use and test at home.